Good morning, everyone. Your favorite teacher, Karthik sir, is back again to explain you a new chapter, The Green Morning, written by Ray Douglas Bradbury. He's also called as Ray Douglas. So, before starting the lesson, let's learn something about the author, Douglas Bradbury. He's one of the most famous American author as well as screenwriter of 20th century. He has written many novels, and out of them, most of them are fictional, which are based upon science fiction, fantasy, horror, and mystery. So, currently, The Green Morning is a small extract from his novel, The Martian Chronicles. It's a collection of short stories where Earth is ruined or Earth is destroyed by a nuclear war and humans are planning to live on Mars. A few of the humans have already formed settlements over there where they go, they learn new things, meet other settlements or settlers who have already settled on Mars and learn from their experience. So now you can guess the time is actually in the near future. So the narrator, he's sitting alone watching the sunset after the day's hard work. He lit the bonfire and made a supper for himself. Throughout the day, he just dug holes, planted seeds, watered them through canals, and later he took a rest near the bonfire which he had started. He was very tired and weak, not because of the day's hard work, but because of Mars. Mars, it does not have any trees. It is completely a barren wasteland. The air is very thin and the oxygen is so weak that his body cannot, it's not sufficient for his body. So he just laid beside his bonfire and watched the night sky, and his name is Benjamin Driscoll. He is currently 31 years old, and his primary mission is to make Mars green, just like Earth. Earth, he wants to plant trees so that, he wants to plant trees, he wants to watch the trees grow tall, which brings more air, more food, which helps to cool the town in the boiling summer, and brings rain, controls winter winds, etc. बेसिकली दीज आर द बेसिक पर्पस ऑफ अ ट्री. ट्री का मेन पर्पस इसमें बताया गया है कि ट्री की वजह से हम लोगों को फ्रेश एयर मिलेगी. फ्रेश एयर के साथ साथ हम लोगों को फ्रूट्स, वेजिटेबल्स ये भी मिलेंगे, और उनके साथ साथ ट्रीज हम टाउन्स को, शहर को, जगहों को ठंडा करने में मदद करते हैं. और विंटर विंड्स, मॉनसून विंड, सीजनल विंड्स को ये लोग अपने कंट्रोल में रखते हैं. नॉट जस्ट दैट, इट ऑल्सो प्रोवाइड्स कलर टू द नेचर, प्रोवाइड शेल्टर्स टू एनिमल्स एंड बर्ड्स, साउंड, इट्स ऑल्सो अ चिल्ड्रंस प्ले ग्राउंड एंड प्योर एंड फ्रेश एयर टू ब्रीथ. नेचर का सिर्फ एक पर्पस नहीं है, वो हमको सिर्फ खाना दे, शेल्टर दे, या तो फिर प्योर ऑक्सीजन दे, यहाँ तक कि वो हमारे नेचर में कलर भी करता है. जैसे कि हम लोग देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ धरती पे काफ़ी सारे पेड़ पौधे हैं. हर एक पेड़ पौधे का एक अलग कलर है, कुछ लाल, कुछ पीले, कुछ हरे, कुछ नीले, और उनके फ्लावर्स जो ब्लूम करते हैं वो भी अलग अलग कलर के रहते हैं. यहाँ तक कि फ्रूट्स भी सारे ग्रीन कलर के नहीं है, ना ही सारे रेड कलर के हैं. हर एक फ्रूट का एक डिफरेंट कलर है जो हमारे नेचर को कलर करता है. और उसी के साथ साथ पेड़, जंगल बच्चों का प्लेग्राउंड बन सकते हैं कि बच्चे उधर खेल सकते हैं, अपना टाइम स्पेंड कर सकते हैं, नेचर के साथ खुद को स्ट्रांग बना सकते हैं, एक बॉन्डिंग क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. और जब बात आती है साउंड की, रात में सो रहे हैं, लाइट चली गई है, अंधेरा भख है, और थोड़ा अजीब तो लगता ही है अंधेरे में, लेकिन जब हम लोग ये ठंडी हवा सुनते हैं, जो पत्तियां एक दूसरे से भिड़ के हिट होकर साउंड निकालती हैं, वो बहुत ज़्यादा सुरीला लगता है और हमारे कानों को, हमारे ईयर्स को बहुत ज़्यादा रिलैक्स करता है. तो उस साउंड के बारे में बताया है यहाँ पर. ट्रीज सिर्फ फ्रेश ऑक्सीजन और एयर के लिए नहीं है, बल्कि वो साउंड के लिए भी हैं. Later, he laid near the bonfire and started imagining the Mars green, where the Mars is completely covered with tall green grass. Fruits are bearing on each tree, and birds are flying from one tree to another tree. Animals roaming around. Humans are completely happy. This was his dream. That's what he want the Mars to be, because they have already destroyed Earth, and he does not want Mars to be destroyed by itself. He wants the Mars to be green so that human can settle over here and rectify their mistakes, the mistakes they have made on Earth. He doesn't want humans to make the same mistakes again. So he started planting more trees and he imagined that Mars is green again. So his bonfire suddenly crackled and it was about to shut down. So he slowly blew air out of his mouth and the fire lit again. Then he talked to the fire. He said that yes, I know. Over here the air is kind of thin, very thin, that it's not suitable for us. But that's all we got for now. That's all we got for now. That's how we have to satisfy ourselves. But we know it's not sufficient as our requirement, but that's all we have now. Living on Mars is similar to living on Andes. Andes is nothing but mountain ranges in America, especially in southern America. एज इन इंडिया, इंडिया में हमारे पास है हिमालयाज, हमारे माउंटेन रेंजेस, वैसे ही एंडस है साउथ अमेरिका के पास, उनके हिमालयन रेंजेस. सो ही टॉक टू द फायर सेइंग दैट या air over here is kind of thin, which is completely not sufficient for us. Living on Mars is similar to living on Andes in South America. He looked. He took the blanket out of his bike and covered himself in the blanket and touched his ribs. He could literally feel his ribs because of, not because of less nutrition, but because of air. Air is very thin and providing oxygen to each muscle, each strand of our muscle is very difficult. So our body adapted itself, and it shrunk his muscles, due to which his rib cage started to visible. And all this thing, it happened in less than 30 days. But because of that, humans got only two choice: either they adapt to this environment in the sense expand their lungs so that they can live in such thin air, or they can do is plant more trees. That was a choice. That was his choice. I mean, that was the last two choice humans had. And basically, Benjamin Driscoll, he was inspired by a story which he was taught in his school days, and that was the story of Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed was once a man who wanted to grow many trees. So all he did, he took a bunch of apple seeds in his hand, and wherever he walked, he just dropped one seed on his way. Soon after years, those seeds sprouted and bloomed into giant trees bearing different kind of apples. So over here, Benjamin, he was not just planting fruit bearing trees, but he was also planting different kind of trees such as oaks, elms, maples, aspens, deodars, and chestnuts. He did not just imagine the fruit bearing trees, but also the trees which would help humans for the further development. जैसे कि फ्रूट सिर्फ हम लोग खा ही सकते हैं, और फ्रूट वेजिटेबल्स हम लोग खाना बना सकते हैं वेजिटेबल्स की मदद से. लेकिन जब बात आती है दूसरे पेड़ की, जैसे कि ओक्स की लकड़ियाँ वुडन मटेरियल बनाने में काम आती है. तो वही, इसने सिर्फ पेट भरने के लिए ही नहीं देखा, इसने देखा कि हम लोग अपना ग्रोथ कैसे करेंगे फ्यूचर में आगे. हम लोग सिर्फ खाना और पेट भरना ही हमारी लाइफ नहीं, हम ह्यूमन की लाइफ है एवॉल्व करना. ह्यूमन का मेन पर्पस ये है हम लोग अपनी मिस्टेक से खुद को एवॉल्व करते रहें. तो वही करने के लिए उसने बहुत सारे डिफरेंट टाइप के ट्रीज उगाए थे. उसका मेन पर्पस सिर्फ खाना और पेट भरना नहीं था, बल्कि हिज मेन मिशन वाज टू मेक द एयर फ्रेश एंड प्रोवाइड विथ ऑल द रिक्वायरमेंट्स अ नेचर कैन प्रोवाइड टू ह्यूमन. Then he again went back to his past, thinking the day he arrived on the Mars. He was very doubtful of himself. He doesn't know what he has to do on Mars, what job he will do, what will be his purpose. But the moment he stepped on the Mars without his astronaut suit or space suit, you can call it as, without his suit, he automatically fainted and fell on the ground. Quickly, other humans took him took him to the hospital and made him smell ammonia. Ammonia is a chemical which has really pungent and awful smell, mostly used to get back humans. I mean, not get back humans from dead, but बेहोश होने के बाद उठाने के लिए, just to get them back to their own consciousness. उसके लिए वो लोग यूज करते हैं अमोनिया. So doctor, one of the person, they brought ammonia close to his nose. The moment he smelled it, He coughed and he got off the bed. And and doctors, they were discussing together that air is kind of thin for him and he cannot survive over here, so they have to send him back to the earth, which he absolutely denied, that he doesn't want to go on earth, live on a completely destroyed planet with barely any resource available for a person. But the moment he spoke, the moment he tried to speak, his vision completely blurred. His nostrils, they dilated, they shrunk, and he collapsed on bed again. The doctor said, "Please settle over here. Over on the Mars, the air is kind of thin, and your body cannot adapt to this change." Listening to the doctor's suggestion, he was completely broken, and the moment he looked out of the wind of the hospital's window, he saw Mars as completely dry, barren wasteland. He could not see even a single tree for miles. Wherever a human could see, there was not even a single tree. That's the reason why the air was very thin on Mars. Just watching that barren wasteland, Benjamin decided his job, his future job, that what he will do on Mars. He got off the bed again and he said, "I want to talk to the coordinator." The doctors, they escorted him towards the coordinator and he talked to the coordinators regarding his plan, which was planting the Mars, planting trees on Mars. He and the coordinator, they discussed this issue for hours. Entire morning they discussed the possible outcomes, consequences, and many other things which are required for them. After the thorough discussion, they have came to a result that organized planting, it might take months or years for starting organized planting. Currently they are consuming frosted food which are coming from earth on icicles. And a few of the people, they have started their own community gardens using hydroponic plants. हाइड्रोपोनिक प्लांट्स ये क्या होते हैं? ऐसे पौधे जिनको क्या कहते हैं, सिर्फ पानी में रखा जाता है और न्यूट्रिएंट्स प्रोवाइड किए जाते हैं उस पानी के अंदर ही। इसमें सॉइल का होना या ना होना कोई ज़रूरी नहीं है, ये सिर्फ एक वाटर की मदद से ही सारे न्यूट्रिएंट्स गेन करता है। Coordinator finally supported his idea and gave him his job and provided all the things which are required for his mission, and that was seeds and a vehicle to move to different places, because Mars is such a huge planet and we cannot walk over there on our barefoot. Coordinator provided Benjamin a bike. That bike, in the sense motorcycle, that bike had some storage compartment which stored different kind of seeds which were available on Earth. They provided him so that he could plant on Mars. He took those seeds, those sprouts, and started moving from one place to another on his bike. Especially he visited valley. As we know, valley is nothing but a small space between two mountains or two hills. His bike couldn't climb up, so he just put the bike under the valley. So he put his bike under the valley and walked to the hills, or walked above the valley. There he dug the holes, started planting trees, and noticed one thing, that the air on the air on the hills are very dry and very thin. It's barely sufficient for himself. He wondered how will it be sufficient for the seeds and sprouts. After planting all the seeds, he rested, lit the bonfire, and there he noticed the clouds started gathering around the mountains. Soon they were moving towards him. He put his bed beside the bonfire and laid. And in the present, the clouds started to thunder. Because of those thundering clouds and strong winds, the fire started to flutter and then the fire shut down. He just slept with his one hand above his head so that he could feel the rain, and then he finally woke up with the first drop of the rain hitting his eyebrows. He woke up and then suddenly a few more drops hit his face, nose, lips, eyes, soon dripped down to his chin. He got off his blanket joyfully and started dancing in the rain. Soon he got drenched, wet, all in the rain. It rained for continuously 2 hours. After the rain has stopped, he changed his clothes to dry ones and then he got back to his bed, imagining that Mars would be green someday, not today, but someday it will be green as Earth. The next morning, he woke up to the touch of river flowing through his fingers. He woke up and saw that everywhere huge trees were grown. He noticed that once a barren wasteland or once the barren hills is now completely full of trees, not just one, two, three, or dozen, but thousands of trees growing right in front of his eyes, blooming to giant, huge trees. He couldn't believe. He just cried out, impossible, because such things we only see in cartoons or in movies, but over here it was happening in front of his eyes. Huge seeds bloom into plant, plant bloom into bush, bush bloom into trees, those trees bearing flowers, branches popping out of each trunk. Birds started to flutter from one tree to another tree, everything as he imagined. He couldn't believe, but the moment he saw people coming out of their doom made him realize that it's not just a dream, it's actually the reality. Trees are blooming out as he has read in the fictions. Even the people who came out of the doom, they couldn't believe such thing happened just in a night. Huge trees bloomed out of the soil, air fresh, winds winds are cooler than usual, and all of them they left their dome and rushed towards this forest. Everyone started to wander, touch the trees, feel the grass, feel that cold air running through their nose, that fresh air which they missed for centuries. Finally, they could experience all this stuff. Benjamin, he bent to his knee and gently touched the water. It was pure, it was fresh, it was crystal clear. He put his mouth in the water and drank a sip. The water was so fresh, so delicious that for a moment he just fainted in the river. Then he woke up watching thousands more growing out of the soil, so giant that it covered the yellow sky. Finally, his dream of making Mars green again fulfilled. And it was extract from, as I've said before, it was an extract from the Martian Chronicles, which was written by Bradbury, and it is a collection of different stories related to Mars. I mean, civilization on Mars, and those stories are still related to present generation. So, if you have any doubt regarding, if you do not understand any particular topic in this chapter, or if you have any doubt, you can just ping me on my Instagram, and I can rectify your doubts over there. Thank you. Happy learning.